Welcome to the Tenda's Movie channel. Enjoy watching, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.
One day, a man named Taejung hurried to grab his motorcycle to chase someone. Taejung then tried to stop a yellow car used by the man he was pursuing. It turned out that Taejung wanted to take revenge on that man because he had ruined his life. The story then moves backward to show Taejung's life when he was still living normally. At that time, Taejung worked as a food delivery courier. One day, a woman deliberately damaged the food that was supposed to be delivered by Taejung's co-worker. Unwilling to stay silent, Taejung chased the culprit who escaped using her boyfriend's sports car. With his excellent riding skills, Taejung managed to stop the car carrying the culprit. Due to Taejung's demands, the culprit's boyfriend agreed to pay compensation for the damaged food. Taejung then transferred the compensation money to his co-worker, and the problem was finally resolved. After that, Taejung met his younger sibling named Taejin. It turned out that Taejung had been working hard to support Taejin because their mother had passed away. Taejung then asked Taejin to focus on studying because he would soon face important school exams. After finishing work, Taejung arranged plants together with his friends. This moment revealed that Taejung owned a plant shop business. After arranging the plants, Taejung chatted with Suji, who also took part in the activity. It turned out that Suji was Taejung's kind and understanding girlfriend. Day by day continued until Taejung took some time to eat during his working hours. Taejung then accidentally found a ringing phone near his location. When he answered the call, Taejung spoke with a woman named Naeong. It turned out that Naeong was looking for her lost phone, and the phone had now been found by Taejung. At first, Taejung refused to deliver Naeong's phone because he was busy. However, after Naeong promised a fairly high payment, Taejung eventually changed his mind. After that, Taejung arrived at the location chosen by Naeong, which was near a tunnel. Seeing that the tunnel was quiet and seemed prone to crime, Taejung suggested returning the phone to Naeong's house instead. However, Naeong refused because she felt uncomfortable having a stranger visit her home. Following Naeong's request, Taejung placed the phone inside an emergency call box in the tunnel. Taejung then took the payment money that Naeong had prepared inside the box. Just before leaving the tunnel, Taejung was almost hit by a truck that had been parked at the location for some time. Time passed until Taejung was suddenly arrested by the police. Taejung was then informed that he had become a suspect in a rape and murder case. It did not take long for the news of Taejung's arrest to attract intense public attention. The reason was that the victim's body was found in a mutilated condition. Because of this, Taejung was considered a cruel murderer. During the interrogation, the police showed Taejung a photo of the victim, who was a woman in her 20s. Taejung firmly stated that he did not know and had never met the woman. Most importantly, Taejung swore that he was not the perpetrator. While in detention, Taejung was visited by his friends. Taejung was shocked to learn that his personal information had been leaked on social media. After that, it was Suji's turn to visit Taejung. Once again, Taejung emphasized that he was not the culprit. Suji believed Taejung's statement because all this time Taejung had been a good person who spent his days working. Some time later, Taejung underwent his first trial as a defendant in the rape and murder case. According to several pieces of evidence presented by the prosecutor, Taejung used a suitcase to move the victim's mutilated body to a river area. Furthermore, Taejung dismembered the victim in the bathroom of an empty apartment unit. A rape charge also emerged because semen believed to belong to Taejung was found inside the victim's body. Shockingly, the victim turned out to be Naeong, the woman whom Taejung had previously helped with a lost phone issue. In the end, the lawyer could no longer defend him because all the evidence strongly confirmed Taejung's status as the perpetrator. After that, Suji visited Taejung, who still believed he was not guilty. As a bit of background, Taejung and Suji had long worn identical bracelets as a symbol of their romantic relationship. Suji then became suspicious because Taejung's bracelet was found at the dismemberment site. Her suspicion grew stronger when Taejung was no longer wearing the bracelet and claimed that it was lost. Suji finally removed her own bracelet and left Taejung with deep disappointment. After the judge delivered a guilty verdict, Taejung was imprisoned in a penitentiary called Gwan. As a new inmate, Taejung was assigned a public defender named Sangrak. In Sangrak's view, there were irregularities in Taejung's case. For example, law enforcement showed an attitude of not considering other possibilities, as if everything had already been arranged. Taejung then remembered that his bracelet had fallen at Taejin's boarding house. Now Sangrak planned to look for the bracelet because it could be evidence that Taejung was innocent. After that, the inmates dragged Taejung to a former gangster boss named Doksu. It turned out that Doksu was now the leader of the inmates. In response to Doksu's question, Taejung admitted that he had been sentenced to life imprisonment. Doksu himself had received the same sentence. However, he managed to reduce his punishment to 12 years because he had a lot of money. Time continued to pass until Sangrak informed Taejong that Taejin had died by hanging himself. Sangrak learned this when he visited Taejin's boarding house to search for Taejong's bracelet. After that, Taejong attempted to end his life due to depression caused by Taejin's death and the routine torture by Doksu's gang. However, the officers managed to save Taejong, and it was recorded that he had attempted suicide 3 times in the same month. On Easter Day, the inmates visited the prison church and received a piece of cake. Taejong then became acquainted with an altar server named No. It turned out that No was an inmate who had long been held at Gwon prison. After receiving advice from No, Taejong diligently exercised and trained in martial arts. From there, Taejong gradually transformed into someone physically and mentally strong, allowing him to withstand the abuse from Doksu's gang. 5 years later, Taejong obtained a job as a plant caretaker in the prison. He then gave tips to a guard named Huan so that Huan could find a way to solve his plant problems. After that, Taejong accompanied No's departure as No was about to be released because his sentence had ended. At No's request, Taejong switched roles to become an altar server. Then one day, Taejong accompanied an inmate who was about to make a confession. When the time came, the inmate, whom we will call Baejin, shared his situation. It turned out that Baejin experienced the exact same condition as Taejong, namely helping to return a lost phone to a woman before eventually being imprisoned after being convicted of killing that woman. Furthermore, Baejin was also assisted by Sangrak. Now, if previously Sangrak told Taejong that Taejin had committed suicide, this time Sangrak told Baejin that his mother had done the same. However, Baejin did not believe it because he was sure his mother was not the type of person who would commit suicide under extreme stress. Baejin then revealed that Sangrak's name was not listed among public defenders. Because of this irregularity, Sangrak was believed to be involved in framing Taejong and Baejin so that it appeared as if they had committed murder. The next day, Taejong was shocked when Baejin was found dead by suicide. According to the examination results, Baejin had stuffed his mouth with pages of the Bible given by Taejong, causing him to suffocate and stop breathing. After that, Taejong was visited again by Sangrak. Remembering Baejin's confession, Taejong grew suspicious of Sangrak. At the peak of his suspicion, Taejong attacked Sangrak because he believed that his younger sibling had been killed by the lawyer. Without the guard's knowledge, Sangrak claimed that he had indeed killed Taejin. However, Sangrak believed that Taejong would never be able to prove it, because as a prisoner, it was impossible for Taejong to conduct an investigation. Meanwhile, a wealthy man named Myunggo took part in an auction. It was known that the item being auctioned was a statue created by the genius artist Arlili, which had an extremely high value. During a break in the auction, Myunggo contacted a statue collector named Johan. According to their agreement, Johan guaranteed that Myungho's child would be safe as long as Myunggo delivered the Arlili statue to Johan. When the auction resumed, Johan secretly joined as a bidder to pressure Myunggo. Because of this pressure, Myunggo was forced to bid 6 billion won, allowing him to finally purchase the statue. After obtaining the desired statue, Johan contacted Myunggo. It turned out that Baejin, who died by suicide using Bible pages, was a false suspect chosen by Johan to replace Myungho's child. With Baejin's death, Johan ensured that Myungho's child was now free from the threat of punishment and could return to living a normal life. That conversation ultimately proved that Johan was the mastermind behind the trap that caused innocent people to be punished. After that, Sangrak contacted Johan to report the problem involving Taejong. Johan then allowed Sangrak to eliminate Taejong because Taejong had already realized that he had been framed by someone. Around the same time, a man we will refer to as Naro was assigned the task of killing Taejong. Back at Gwon prison, Taejong faced several of Doksu's subordinates. As usual, they ordered Taejong to act as a punching bag. Tired of being a target of abuse, Taejong finally fought back and managed to defeat Doksu's men. Taejong then threatened Doksu, warning him not to dare cause trouble for him again. After the incident, rumors spread that Doksu had been beaten by Taejong. These rumors clearly tarnished Doksu's reputation as a powerful inmate. Doksu then assaulted an inmate who secretly mocked him for believing the rumors. Not long after, Doksu was approached by another powerful inmate named Gang Jae. It turned out that the two were enemies. Doksu ultimately cancelled a fight against Gang Jae because he was suddenly summoned by Park. While speaking with Doksu, Park emphasized his position as the prison warden. Park was also the organizer of an underground inmate fighting club. While Doksu was responsible for recruiting inmates to become fighters, Doksu was able to act arbitrarily because of his cooperation with Park. At the end of the meeting, Park ordered Doksu to stop endangering the lives of inmates. Time passed until Taejong received a new cellmate named Jian. When the moment was right, Jian carried out Doksu's order to kill Taejung. However, Taejung was able to anticipate the attack and successfully defeat Jian. Taejung then realized that Jian had been sent by Doksu so that Doksu could eliminate him without the guard's knowledge. During mealtime, Taejung brought up Doksu's crime of sexually assaulting his own younger sibling. Doksu immediately went attacked Taejung. The guards were eventually forced to use a stun device on Doksu because he was difficult to control. Afterward, Huan informed Taejung that Doksu had been thrown into solitary confinement for assaulting Taejung. Confirming Huan's suspicion, Taejung had deliberately provoked Doksu so that he would be locked in solitary confinement and could no longer disturb him. As time passed, Taejung secretly made a duplicate key that he planned to use to escape. By deceiving the guards, Taejung finally succeeded in creating the key. After dealing with Doksu, Taejung was suddenly surrounded by Gang Jae and his gang. Gang Jae then invited Taejung to become his ally, considering that they both shared the same hatred toward Doksu. After that, Taejung was selected as a fighter in an upcoming match. In the middle of the preparations, Taejung subdued Gang Jae's subordinates to make it clear that he had no intention of becoming Gang Jae's ally. Time continued to pass until the inmates were gathered to undergo vaccination. It turned out that the vaccination was to be carried out by Nara, who was disguised as a prison doctor. Nara then secretly replaced the vaccine with poison when he injected Taejung. After injecting Taejung, Nara sent a message to someone stating that Taejung would die within 30 minutes. After that, Taejung began attempting to escape from the prison using strategies and tools he had prepared long in advance. By taking advantage of gaps he already knew, Taejung tried to move as quickly as possible. Then, in the middle of his struggle, Taejung suddenly felt dizzy without realizing that the condition was triggered by the poison injected by Nara. After overcoming various obstacles, Taejung managed to enter the office that handled inmates' family visits. Through a diversion, Taejung succeeded in leaving the office and heading toward the prison exit gate. In the end, Taejung lost consciousness as the effects of the poison reached their peak. Meanwhile, Johan was watching a car racing tournament. It turned out that one of the racing teams in the competition was owned by Johan. After the race ended, Johan spoke with one of his team members. The team member was confused by Johan's way of thinking. The reason was that Johan wanted his team to attack a rival racer's car in order to increase their chances of winning. Some time later, Prison Warden Park was suddenly visited by the Commissioner General, who had long been Park's superior. The Commissioner General then allowed Johan to enter Park's office. Before leaving, the Commissioner General instructed Park to carry out any order given by Johan. When they began speaking privately, Johan brought up the condition of Gwon Prison. It turned out that the prison housed the most brutal criminals in South Korea. Johan then admitted that he was friends with influential people. One of them was the superior of the Commissioner General. Johan then gave Park 2 1-kilogram gold bars, each worth 200 million won, so that Park would be willing to carry out Johan's mission. Park would later receive 5 identical gold bars if he successfully completed the mission. It turned out that the mission was to gather 12 inmates who met the requirements listed in the documents. Then those 12 inmates would be sent to a location chosen by Johan. Park was also allowed to send inmates he disliked as long as they still met the requirements. Park finally promised to ensure the mission's success. Meanwhile, Taejung woke up in the prison clinic. According to the doctor's examination results, Taejung's body had been poisoned with rat poison. In addition to being treated quickly, Taejung's life was saved thanks to a vitamin K3 supplement that No had given him during a previous visit. Not long after, Huan visited Taejung. Through his investigation, Huan was able to uncover Taejung's attempt to escape from prison. The rat poison incident also made Huan realize that there was someone trying to harm Taejung. Now Huan would keep a closer watch on Taejung in order to protect him while also preventing him from attempting to escape again. As time went on, Park released Doksu from solitary confinement in order to maintain their cooperation. Before leaving, Park asked Doksu not to cause any trouble. However, Doksu ignored the request because he was desperate to take revenge on Taejung. Moments later, Taejung fought against Doksu's gang inside the clinic. Through his gang's attack, Doksu wanted to punish Taejung for having him locked in solitary confinement. At the same time, Huan was unable to stop the disturbance inside the clinic because the facility doors were tightly guarded by Doksu's men. After defeating all his opponents, Taejung became involved in a deadly duel with Doksu. As Doksu continued to resist, Taejung ultimately used Doksu's sharp weapon to slash his ear. This incident was discovered by Huan and the emergency response team who had just arrived at the scene and managed to restore order. As a result of his actions against Doksu, Taejung was thrown into solitary confinement. After that, 12 inmates including Taejung were forcibly sent to a place owned by Johan with their heads covered. The next day, Johan welcomed them all and promised them a reward. 5 years earlier, there was a man named Kyung who killed his friend while under the influence of drugs. It turned out that Kyung's friend was Naeong, the woman who was said to be Taejung's murder victim. Kyung then reported the matter to his father in hopes of escaping legal consequences. Meanwhile, through his company, Johan succeeded in winning a data center construction project. Johan then discovered several officials who criticized his company's victory. The reason was that Johan's company had won the project without following proper procedures. Johan then threatened to expose the officials' personal information if they dared to interfere with his company. In fact, Johan's company operated in the data security sector. It was possible that Johan possessed sensitive data that he could use to control or destroy his opponents. After that, Nara carried out Johan's order to cut off the index finger of an official who dared to criticize Johan. Johan then attached that index finger to part of his statue collection. In Johan's eyes, the severed human finger was the final piece that perfected his statue. Time continued to pass until Johan was contacted by a council member named Beck, who was Kyung's father, the real murderer of Naeong. Beck eventually hired Johan's security services so that Kyung could avoid legal punishment. In return, Beck was required to purchase a high-value artwork for Johan. After that, Johan entered his special room which he usually used to handle client matters. Through special cameras installed by his team, Johan was able to examine crime scenes without having to visit them directly. Johan then hacked city surveillance cameras to search for a suitable false suspect to replace Kyung. Johan ultimately chose Taejung because he spent the entire day delivering orders around Naeong's residence. As the next step, Johan monitored Taejung through both his team and CCTV footage. After fully understanding Taejung's activities and personal life, Johan and his team fabricated evidence to frame Taejung as the perpetrator. Johan paid close attention to every small detail so that it appeared Taejung had truly raped and murdered Naeong. Under Johan's orders, Nara killed Taejun and secured Taejung's bracelet that had fallen at Taejun's boarding house. It also appears that Nara took Taejung's semen from a discarded contraceptive device and then injected the fluid into Naeong's body. This was Johan's advanced manipulation technique to make Taejung replace Kyung as Naeong's killer. Back to the present time, we are shown what happened before the group of inmates was welcomed by Johan. When they first arrived at Johan's property, Taejung and the other inmates were given luxurious food and drinks. Following the instructions, the 12 inmates including Taejung entered their respective rooms. They began to wonder why they had been brought there and where that place actually was. When the situation became quiet, Taejung attempted to escape. However, his action was ultimately stopped by security guards carrying rifles. Realizing that the guards were constantly aiming at him, Taejung did not dare to attack when he was met by Johan. At the end of the meeting, Johan hinted that Taejung and the other 11 inmates would take part in a competition with a special prize. Moments later, Jian managed to persuade Taejung to meet Doksu. Taejung then prepared himself to fight after learning that Doksu intended to kill him for revenge. However, the guards successfully prevented the clash, forcing Doksu to postpone his plan to eliminate Taejung. The story then returns to the moment when Johan welcomed the 12 inmates. Here they were dressed in uniforms with individual serial numbers. Johan then announced that the 12 inmates would become participants in a car racing competition. The arena would be located in an abandoned factory complex. Johan then shot an inmate dead for attempting to escape from the competition. After that, Johan displayed a pile of money totaling 5 billion won as the prize for the winner of the race. Johan emphasized that the competition had no rules, meaning participants were allowed to use any method to achieve victory. After the briefing, the 12 inmates took cars from the garage according to the serial numbers on their uniforms. It turned out that each participant received a different car, and not all of them were suitable for racing. However, since there were no rules, they were free to modify the cars to overcome their weaknesses. Meanwhile, Kyung arrived at the location with a man following Johan's invitation. It turned out that the man accompanying Kyung was the one whose punishment had been replaced by Baejin. Johan eventually revealed that the inmates' car racing competition would become a gambling event operated through the dark web. During the race preparation period, Jian, who was still considered Doksu's subordinate, carried out his task of spying on Taejung. Without Doksu's knowledge, Jian cooperated with Taejung as a team. Taejung agreed to work with Jian because the man showed genuine seriousness. At this point, the participants had already formed their own teams to increase their chances of winning. The next day, Gang Jae became the first participant to meet Johan through a consultation session. Gang Jae then offered a deal to Johan. He promised that he could become a very useful person for Johan as long as Johan was willing to cooperate with him. Johan ultimately did not trust Gang Jae and rejected the deal after learning that Gang Jae had been involved in fraud cases 18 times. After that, it was Doksu's turn to meet Johan through a consultation. Doksu then asked Johan for permission to kill Taejong during the upcoming race so he could take his revenge. Hearing this, Johan finally allowed Doksu in order to increase the excitement of the race. That night, Doksu's men hijacked another participant's SUV and handed it over to Doksu. Not long after, Gang Jae witnessed the actions of Doksu's men and noticed that the security guards did nothing. At that moment, Gang Jae realized that car hijacking and violence were allowed during the preparation period. Meanwhile, Taejong was working on Jian's sports car. It turned out that among all the participants, only Jian had received a sports car, giving him a very strong chance of winning thanks to its high speed. As soon as they learned about Jian's car, Gang Jae's team immediately tried to hijack it by any means necessary. Taejong and Jian then attempted to escape using the sports car. Doksu, driving his hijacked SUV, chased Taejong with the mission of seizing the sports car. At the same time, Gang Jae also pursued Taejong with his relatively slower car. Taejong's escape attempt ultimately failed when his car was rammed by Doksu. Gang Jae then blocked Doksu as he was about to ram Taejong again. As Doksu and Gang Jae were about to fight over the sports car, the security guards finally intervened and managed to restore order. It turned out that Johan deliberately prevented a bigger conflict because he did not want the participants to get injured before the race. After the chaos, Jian's sports car suffered engine damage after being hit by Doksu, but Taejong managed to escape just as the car exploded. The next day, Taejong met Johan in a consultation session. While talking, Taejong used the watchtower to observe the factory complex that would serve as the race arena. It turned out that Johan organized the dangerous inmate car race purely for entertainment. Up to that point, Johan did not even remember that he had framed Taejong as a false suspect to replace Kyung. Johan then granted Taejong's request to give him vitamins. However, Taejong eventually refused the vitamins and left. Since that incident, Johan became extremely irritated with Taejong because he felt that Taejong had toyed with him. A few hours later, Taejong began modifying his car. As a brief explanation, some participants including Taejong had gained car mechanics skills through training in prison. The following day, Johan accepted an agreement to cooperate with Gang Jae. Johan then informed him that he had placed something interesting inside Gang Jae's car. As the race was about to begin, Johan announced that the prize money of 5 billion won would be awarded to the first participant to complete 20 laps. Johan also once again reminded everyone that the race had no rules, meaning participants were free to do anything to win. As soon as the race started, Kyung immediately placed a bet on Taejong. Shortly afterward, one participant suffered a fatal accident after activating the turbo engine in his car. As the competition grew more intense, Doksu managed to crash into Taejong's car and prepared to kill him. However, it turned out that the car was being driven by Jian, leaving everyone deceived. Not long after, Doksu discovered that Taejong had switched to using a motorcycle available at the location. As time went on, Gang Jae focused on chasing Taejong and was determined to kill him. Gang Jae then used a pistol provided by Johan to carry out his mission. While trying to escape, Taejong successfully attacked Gang Jae's car tire using a gas cylinder attached to his motorcycle. As a result of this attack, Gang Jae suffered a fatal accident. After the incident, Johan announced a new rule. Any participant who managed to secure Taejong's motorcycle would receive 5 billion won. From that moment on, all participants shifted to hunting Taejong in order to win the massive prize money. Through a desperate struggle, Taejong managed to overcome the attacks from every participant. Johan then picked up a long-range rifle to shoot Taejong. It turned out that Johan was extremely determined to kill Taejong because Taejong had dared to toy with him during their last meeting. While trying to avoid Johan's shots, Taejong activated the gas cylinder to trigger an explosion. As Johan's attention was diverted by the explosion, Taejong took his intended route to escape the factory complex. Johan eventually fired shots toward Taejong as he continued his escape. Despite being hit by gunfire, Taejong managed to get away.